Welcome to Last Dawn Stories channel. The apocalypse arrives. My husband brings his mistress home to force me into divorce. In my previous life, I defied my parents' objections and married down into my ex-husband's family while pregnant, yet he despised me for bearing a daughter, brought his pregnant mistress home, and humiliated me. When the apocalypse came, he forced me, who had just given birth, to venture out into the blizzard to search for food, during the extreme food shortage. He and his mother even smothered me to death with a pillow. The moment I opened my eyes, I had been reborn back to the day of my divorce. Kathy, look at the disgusting state you're in down there. How can we possibly stay together? Let's get divorced. The moment I opened my eyes, Jack was blabbering with his mouth wide open, his face full of disdain and disgust. Meanwhile, my lower body was shamelessly exposed, with a small puddle of excrement on the bedsheet. Our swaddled daughter lay neglected to the side, wailing loudly. The humiliating scene snapped me back to full awareness instantly. I was reborn. Fine, I don't want anything except our daughter. My heart pounded with excitement, and I immediately agreed. He didn't expect me to be so straightforward and not ask for a single cent. Mother-in-law Mary also looked incredulous. Our family has no money to give you. Since you want to take that money-losing burden with you, then take her away. I calculated the time. Only 7 days left until the disaster strikes. Time is running out. I hurriedly urged them, go get divorced now. The mother and son exchanged surprised glances, full of suspicion. At the Civil Affairs office, Jack repeatedly emphasized, Kathy, you're the one who didn't want a single cent. Don't go back on your word. I won't go back on my word. I'm afraid it's him who might regret it. On my phone, my mother just sent me a WeChat message, due to urban planning. Our home has been marked for demolition, and will receive at least tens of millions in compensation from the government. I won't change my mind. Don't worry, after today, we'll have nothing to do with each other. In the face of disaster, what does money even matter? Not to mention he's not some rich second-generation heir either, just a posthumous child. Only that old witch Mary would treat him like a treasure. I didn't take Jack's money, but what he didn't know was that my parents, fearing I'd suffer in my marital home, had secretly given me $300,000 when I got married. I only took our daughter and that $300,000 with me. I wouldn't take that 30-year-old self-built house of his even if it were given to me for free. In the apocalypse, such a house is completely useless. Not only is it dilapidated and drafty everywhere, to save money back then, they didn't even install windows in the hallway. It provides neither warmth nor any defensive function. Let it be their coffin then. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, I hurriedly took a taxi home to take my daughter away. While I was packing, Jack also returned, bringing his new lover with him. Kathy, we've already filed for divorce. It's my freedom to be with anyone now. I ignored him and continued packing my clothes. The thick winter garments would be useful now. Why waste money buying new ones? Mary chimed in beside him. Exactly, Kathy. You're the one who can't bear a son. You can't blame us for that. Our family has only Jack as the male heir. If he doesn't have descendants, how could I ever face the ancestors of the He family in the afterlife? Just like in my past life, he moved in with his mistress and Mary. Rumor had it Lisa was already 4 months pregnant, with a son, no less. A sudden blizzard arrived, and to provide shelter for my daughter, I endured humiliation in silence, besides taking care of my daughter. They even treated me like a free maid, exhausted both physically and mentally from caring for my daughter. Jack would beat and scold me at the slightest displeasure. When we were starving and freezing, he would rather let me suffer the cold, demanding I take off my clothes for Lisa to wear. After saying this, Jack went out with Mary and Lisa for a fun trip. Looking at the already drafty windows, I called a renovation company. Using the excuse that summer was approaching and wanting to replace the windows, I had them remove all the windows, all the free-range hens, organic eggs, and cured meat my mother brought me during my postpartum confinement. Take them all away. That 70-year-old hag Mary, skinny as a monkey, was especially afraid of the cold. Thinking of this, I decided to go all the way. I cut the wires to both the air conditioner and the electric blanket. Before leaving, I installed real-time surveillance cameras in several hidden spots. Taking one last look at this home that no longer belonged to me, I walked away with my daughter without turning back. I called a car and rushed back overnight to my parents' house in the suburbs. As soon as I entered the door and saw my parents, I couldn't help but burst into tears. In my previous life, due to the power and internet outage, I couldn't contact them, and until the end, I didn't know whether they had survived the snow disaster. To hell with love. It cost me my life. I didn't even get to see my parents one last time. The moment I stepped inside, My parents rushed over, hugging me and my daughter. Seeing me cry, they grew flustered and immediately asked what was wrong. I composed myself and told them everything, including the snowstorm and my rebirth. After hearing this, Mom kept wiping away tears in distress, while Dad was so furious that he rushed into the kitchen, grabbed a kitchen knife, and wanted to fight Jack to the death. I quickly stopped him. Dad, let's drop this for now. The most important thing right now is stockpiling supplies. If we survive this snowstorm, we win. After hearing my words, Dad said, Daughter, what do you think we should do? Your mom and I will follow your lead. I was somewhat moved, never expecting my parents would believe me unconditionally. Mom, Dad, do you really trust me? Don't you think I might have postpartum depression? My mother held my hand and said, whether it's true or not doesn't matter. What matters is that our family can be together. After I got married, my parents felt the old house wasn't spacious enough, so they bought a villa in a suburban development, hoping it would be more convenient for Jack and me to live there. Not only did they prepare a nursery, but they even had a room ready for Mary. Poor my parents. Having to bury their child in their old age, they could never have imagined that in the end, I would be killed by Mary and her son. I looked around the neighborhood, and the occupancy rate wasn't very high. The fewer the residents, the better. It's safer for us that way. The first thing to consider is warmth. A blizzard could cut off water and electricity, making electric heating devices unreliable, so we had to consider primitive methods. Dad contacted a renovation company and had a Western-style fireplace built overnight, clearing out a room in the basement to store firewood. The heating issue was resolved, but safety remained the top priority. Although I had removed all the windows from Jack's house, I replaced every window in my home with triple-pane glass, which is said to be extremely sturdy. The entire house was also reinforced. Recalling some old rural houses where families would embed broken glass shards into their courtyard walls to deter intruders, my dad and I collected numerous empty liquor bottles, smashed them, and embedded the shards into the cement around the windows. The only regret was that it was already May, and we couldn't stock up on coal. Thinking back to winters in my childhood, the coal stove burning, heavy snow outside, yet the house warm as spring. Eating roasted sweet potatoes and chatting, I couldn't help but feel a pang of melancholy. This time, we must endure this bitter winter no matter what. After saying that, I went out to the nearby mall. Buying online might be too slow, so I decided to stock up on all the heating pads available. After a good night's sleep, my parents and I split up to tackle different tasks. My father was responsible for driving to the market to buy beef, lamb, fish, and other meats, while my mother and I went to the supermarket to stock up on baby formula, diapers, and other essentials for our daughter. We also needed electric blankets, fleece blankets, the best long-down jackets and thermal underwear, as well as tissues, daily necessities, and commonly used medications. My daughter is still so young with weak immunity. I hope she doesn't get sick. I've bought everything I could think of: vitamins, fever reducers, cooling patches, probiotics, even if it's a waste of money. I can't risk missing anything. I've also stocked up on canned food. If we can't cook, there are self-heating meals to get by. My mom always said the coldest time isn't when it snows, but when the snow melts, so I bought military coats, anti-slip snow boots, extra thick hats and gloves. Since electric ones might fail, hot water is always available. That's why I also got hot water bottles. We called for a large truck, but unexpectedly, the driver was an aunt about my mother's age. Seeing that there were only 2 of us women, she kindly helped us load the goods and chatted warmly with us along the way. She mentioned that her son was around my age but had passed away in a car accident the year before last, leaving behind a granddaughter under 5. Her daughter-in-law runs a street stall, so she also takes on some odd jobs to help out. She said that after her son's death, her daughter-in-law didn't remarry, so she felt she had to pitch in and not hold them back. Looking at this aunt, I couldn't help but think of Mary's sharp and mean face. That girl is truly lucky to have such a wonderful mother-in-law. I wonder if they'll be able to survive when the disaster strikes. Before leaving, I said to her, Auntie, the weather has been quite unusual lately. May is supposed to be the rainy season, but it's hotter than midsummer. You'd better stock up on some food, just in case. She paused for a moment, then chuckled and said, All right, dear. Thanks for the reminder. I'll go buy some treats for my granddaughter when I get back. There are still more good people in this world, and the wicked will meet their match. I observed that the occupancy rate in this neighborhood is less than 30%, so our actions didn't attract anyone's attention. Only the security guard curiously asked us why we were stockpiling so much food, since summer is coming and it might spoil. I smiled and said, "Our place is cooler in summer compared to other areas. Some relatives from Hainan are coming to escape the heat, so I need to prepare more food, otherwise, they might say I'm stingy." When I got home, I saw Dad had bought a lot of fruit. He said vegetables can't be stored for too long, but fruit is fine. In the north, they eat frozen pears in winter, and now we have all kinds of frozen fruits to enjoy. Dad said, "I used to think about taking you to Harbin to experience a northern winter, but now we don't need to travel far. When the time comes, I'll build a snowman for you and my girl." But Mom looked at the food filling the house and worried. Fruits could be frozen and eaten later, but potatoes and green beans couldn't be stored for too long. Suddenly, I had a bright idea. "Mom, why not make pickles with the green beans? I love eating those, and the potatoes can be made into potato pancakes." Mom gently tapped my forehead with her index finger. "My daughter is so clever. I'll start making them right now." I helped my mom with the preparations. Since getting married, we hadn't had a family meal together. Jack always had excuses to avoid visiting my parents, complaining about the mosquitoes in summer and the cold in winter. Of course, he was too busy playing cards with his shady friends outside, not even spending time with Mary, let alone my parents, thinking of them. I casually opened my phone and saw them sharing various couple photos in the family group chat. The divorce isn't even finalized yet, and they're already flaunting their love to the world. I'd love to see how long this love lasts. Go ahead, have fun, the good days are numbered, every day is a countdown, enjoy it while it lasts. I put down my phone and inspected the house again, making sure nothing was overlooked. At life and death moments, human nature is truly tested. Besides reinforcing the doors and windows, I needed real defensive tools. I bought some anti-harassment devices from a local trading site. They even had a flashlight function. As long as they could scare people off, that was enough. Great, that makes me feel more at ease. With only Dad as the man in the house, if anything really happens, I'll have to step up. Mom made the remaining pumpkin into pumpkin cakes and even dried a lot of sweet potato strips especially for me. Just my daughter's supplies alone take up half a room. I also have to consider the water issue. Unclean water can cause stomach problems even for adults, let alone such a small baby. Dad and I drove straight to 6 water factories, bought all their current stock of bottled water, and placed an order for another 1,000 barrels to be delivered in 3 days. We also bought 10 of the largest barrels to store tap water. Since water left in open containers for too long might breed red worms, we bought a large water purifier just in case. If the drinking water gets contaminated, we can still use the tap water. All the rooms on the second floor were used to store water, which immediately put my mind at ease. I didn't dare to keep the water in the yard. If someone noticed, it would be trouble. Despite being very careful, the commotion of hauling water was too loud and still drew complaints from the neighbors. Someone asked in the homeowners group chat, "Who's making such a racket late at night?" These past few days, it's been nothing but banging and cars coming and going. Is this your first time living in a big house, trying to fill it up like some country bumpkin? I kindly replied in the group to remind everyone, the weather lately feels unusual. Normally, it's overcast and rainy this time of year, but now it's abnormally hot. What if there's a sudden temperature drop later? Everyone should stock up on some food, just in case. I never expected my kindness would invite ridicule from others. This is absolutely hilarious. Have you watched too many apocalyptic movies? Do you have persecution delusions, spouting nonsense every day? Careful or I'll report you. Fine, since you won't listen to my warnings, then good luck to you. Whether or not the blizzard comes again in this lifetime, spending money for security is worth it. Otherwise, when the apocalypse truly arrives, with the cold weather rapidly draining body heat and food shortages on top of that, there'll be no one to hear your cries for help. I don't want to relive those hellish days again. By midnight, I could already feel the chill. I hurriedly got up and closed all the windows. I knew the blizzard had arrived right on schedule. Yesterday, netizens were still joking about how the weather was so hot you could fry an egg on the ground. But when I woke up this morning and checked my phone, the temperature had dropped by nearly 10 degrees. After a heavy rain, people were bundling up in thick coats. In just 2 days, the weather went from scorching heat to a sudden cold snap. Unsurprisingly, heavy snow began falling by evening. Sure enough, by the afternoon, within just an hour, the snow had piled up to 50 centimeters. The unexpected snowfall disrupted travel, leaving some drivers stranded on highways. After browsing the news, I left a comment suggesting that if the snow continued for days, even grocery shopping would become difficult. so everyone should stock up on supplies. Just like last time, my well-meaning advice was met not with gratitude but with mockery. If you're so kind-hearted, why don't you go deliver instant noodles and hot water to those stranded drivers on the highway? That's right, I'm afraid if we go, they'll just charge us exorbitant prices. These two comments actually became highly upvoted. I turned off the computer, checked all the power banks, charging those that needed it, taking advantage of the still available internet. I took out my iPad to download some movies, only then remembering I should stock up on more books. In the apocalypse, when you can't go outside, books are the best comfort for the soul. I picked up my daughter and walked to the window, watching the snow fall heavier and heavier, murmuring in my heart, "In our past life, your father and grandmother killed me, leaving you to starve to death. This time, Mom has the ability to protect you completely." Just then, the phone on the table suddenly rang. I opened it and saw that the surveillance footage had updated. Jack and the other two had just returned. In the video, Mary was seen trembling as she approached the house, then running out with a scream, "Oh my God, why is my electric blanket broken? And the windows? Where's all the glass? What's going on here?" I smirked and turned off my phone. No need to rush, the real show was just beginning. May 10th, 8:00 a.m., I was awakened by my daughter's crying. Just as I was about to get up to prepare her milk, my mother knocked on the door and handed me a bottle of already mixed formula. Good heavens, I've never seen snow this heavy. It's almost half a floor high. Thankfully, we prepared well in advance. Kathy, we owe this to you. Gazing at the thick snowfall outside the window, I felt a sense of security I'd never experienced before. Although most of our money had been spent, at least for the next 6 months, we wouldn't have to worry about going hungry. I saw people in the neighborhood group chat starting to complain that they should have stockpiled supplies, but there were still optimists saying the blizzard would be over in a few days. Some even tagged the property management in the chat, demanding they prepare supplies for door-to-door delivery. By 7 p.m., the snow still showed no sign of stopping, only growing heavier. Fortunately, our villa was located on the highest ground in the neighborhood. Though the temperature was lower here, we had taken thorough measures to stay warm and didn't have to worry about the house being buried in snow. The only concern now was that the smoke rising from our chimney might attract unwelcome attention. Thinking about this, I suddenly heard screams from outside, someone shouting, "Fire, come help put out the fire." It turned out that a household in the western part of the community had started a fire for warmth and accidentally caused a blaze. With the roads buried under heavy snow, the fire trucks couldn't arrive in time under such conditions, and there wasn't enough water to extinguish the flames. We could only watch helplessly as the house burned to the ground, unable to do anything. If only they had taken my warning in the homeowners group seriously and prepared in advance, this wouldn't have happened. But some people realized the severity and started going out to stock up on supplies. Meanwhile, I stayed snug under the warm covers, playing with my daughter while coldly watching my ex-husband's family through the surveillance feed. Jack, accustomed to having meals served to him daily, and Mary, who was too frugal to spend money, often made do with simple vegetarian dishes. Only then did the other woman, Lisa, begin to feel uneasy. "Jack, should we also go buy some food to stock up?" Mary listened and said, "Buying now would definitely be more expensive than usual. Don't waste your money. I've lived for decades. I know what I'm talking about. The snow will stop in a few days." Jack lay on the sofa, legs crossed, playing a game, and said, "Mom's always right. If you want to go, go by yourself." Lisa touched her stomach and said, "But what if the baby gets hungry?" Mary quickly handed Lisa 2 eggs. Eggs are very nutritious. Back when Kathy was pregnant, she ate a lot of them. Look how plump and fair my granddaughter turned out. Seeing Mary's smug expression, I couldn't help but laugh. That's right, I did eat a lot of eggs. All of them were free from her scanning codes, not costing a single penny. How could she not be willing? Looking at those empty window frames without glass, with the wind fiercely blowing into the house, I really don't know how they can stand it. The snow was falling heavier and heavier. I turned on the TV, and there were still a few channels that could receive programs. Many people were stranded on the highways due to the blizzard, and the shortage of food became a challenge and hardship they had to face. A single mother was holding her 5-month-old daughter in her arms, seeking help through a video. She hadn't eaten for a whole day and night, and without hot water, she couldn't prepare milk for her baby. The hungry infant kept crying, while the mother, frantic with worry, had developed blisters on her lips. As a mother myself, my heart ached watching this. I understood her pain all too well. I picked up the phone and called the support team to get this woman's address. I decided to help her. I took the car keys from my dad, who asked worriedly, "Kathy, driving isn't safe right now, should I go instead?" I quickly refused. "It's fine. Dad, stay home and keep Mom company, I'll just deliver the supplies and come right back." Dad went out to install snow chains on the wheels after hearing the plan. Mom and I loaded the car with bottled water, baby formula, diapers, heating pads, hot water bottles, charcoal, a charcoal stove, self-heating rice meals, and common medications. Then we set off. Due to the slippery roads, I didn't dare drive too fast. Normally, it would take only half an hour to reach that woman's place via the main road, but the snow was too heavy, and some areas hadn't been cleared yet, making it impossible to drive further. After hesitating for a while with no other options, I had no choice but to take out my backpack, stuff as many supplies as possible into it, and carry the rest in my hands. As I walked to her house, I clutched the supplies tightly, terrified they might be snatched away if anyone noticed. The snow had already reached my calves, though it felt soft underfoot. The resistance was immense. Each step felt more exhausting than walking 3 steps normally. On top of that, the water I was carrying made the load unbearably heavy. Despite being bundled up thickly, my hands and feet had already gone numb from the cold. I forced myself to keep walking. After about 20 minutes, I passed through a narrow alley and finally arrived at her house, a small, old, single-story home. I glanced at the window and noticed the gaps had been stuffed with something. I knocked lightly on the door, placed the food at the entrance, and then hid nearby. The woman pushed the door open, saw the supplies on the ground, looked around to make sure no one was there, picked them up, and closed the door. I leaned against the wall to rest for a while. After making 3 round trips, I finally managed to deliver all the supplies to her, barring any unforeseen circumstances. It should be enough to sustain her and her daughter for a few months, though I couldn't help more people. She, with her young daughter, simply couldn't venture out to search for food. If I were in her shoes, how desperate and helpless would I feel? Do good people always get good karma? I can't say for sure. In my past life, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to Jack, only to be met with betrayal and humiliation, when he and Mary left my corpse in the snow on that blizzard-filled night. My heart froze over completely. By the time I rushed home, it was already late at night. My parents were still waiting for me in the living room. As soon as I walked in, my mother quickly handed my sleeping daughter to my father and came over to ask why I was back so late. Though her words carried a hint of reproach, I knew she had been worried about me all night. I explained the situation to them, and my mother went to the kitchen to make me a bowl of egg noodles. The rich aroma of the broth mixed with the fragrance of scallions made my stomach growl loudly. After finishing a bowl of steaming hot noodles, I started feeling drowsy. As I fell into a deep sleep, I had a dream where spring melted the ice and snow, turning them into water that nourished flowers and green grass. Amidst the vibrant greenery, my family and I stood by a babbling stream, basking in the long mist sunlight. Just then, the phone rang. It was Jack. "Kathy, where are you? Hurry up and bring me some warm clothes. The windows at home are all broken, and I'm freezing to death." I sat up against the bed and said, "Jack, are you out of your mind? We're already divorced, and you still expect me to bring you clothes? Isn't this what your little lover should be doing? And your mom, would she let you freeze? She pities you, but I don't. Damn it, did you mess with those windows on purpose? If anything happens to my son, I won't let you off easy, son. Let's see if you can even give birth to one first." Without waiting for Jack to respond, I hung up the phone. Then I turned on the surveillance, seeing Jack's furious expression and Mary's face turning blue from the cold. Her already sharp and gaunt features looked even more terrifying. Lisa rubbed her hands together and stomped her feet from the chill. "Jack, what should we do? It's fine if I freeze, but what if our son gets sick?" Jack hugged Lisa and said, "Let's go back to the room. I'll keep you warm." With that, he headed straight for the bedroom, leaving Mary alone in the living room. This hypocritical son. His mother had always doted on him, saving all the meat from her soups for him while I only got a few sips of broth, and now, he values his unborn son more than his own mother. Truly, a man forgets his mother once he has a wife. The snow stopped, and many thought it was over. Only I knew this was just temporary. This disaster was far from as optimistic as people believed. The government also stepped in to organize road clearing efforts, and my father and I cleared the roads near our home. Some people began to sense something was amiss and urged everyone to stock up on supplies. The more, the better. This time, however, netizens no longer dismissed such warnings with scorn as they had before. Comments advising people to stockpile supplies received many likes. I checked the surveillance feed to see how Jack was doing. He was arguing with Lisa, while Mary huddled on the sofa wrapped in a blanket. Jack, I'm so hungry. What if our baby doesn't develop properly if I don't eat something nutritious? Baby, I can't even take care of myself right now. Go out and find some food for me. The snow is so heavy. What if I fall and hurt the baby? Lisa said while glancing at Mary. Seeing this, Mary quickly snapped, just go when you're told. If my son starves, I'll make you pay. Before Lisa could respond, they heard someone banging on the door. A man outside shouted, got any food? Open up and hand some over. Now, I recognized whose voice that was. The owner of Unit 1604. Rumor had it he'd been locked up for 8 years for robbery and had just been released. Every time I saw him, I'd take a detour. Those dragon and tiger tattoos on his arms made it clear he wasn't someone to mess with, and Jack, who took after his mother, was skinny and small, no match for this guy at all. Sure enough, when he heard the noise outside the door, his face turned pale with fear. While distracting my daughter with a toy, I watched to see how Jack would react. The three of us in the room didn't dare to make a sound. Seeing no response, the man from 1604 eventually gave up. Sigh, just look at how spineless Jack is. I really don't know what I was thinking back then. Falling for a guy who only knows how to act tough at home, I turned off my phone and glanced out the window. The snow was falling harder, piling up in thick layers on the freshly cleared roads. People stayed obediently at home except for going out to buy food. The news also reminded everyone not to go out unless necessary. Supplies were being arranged for delivery. However, supermarkets now had very few items available for purchase, and the wet markets had already stopped operating. Jack and Lisa still lingered at home, waiting for Mary to cook noodles for them. After eating instant noodles for a whole week, Jack couldn't take it anymore. Yelling at Lisa, Mary quickly came over and said, hurry up and go find some food. If your man goes hungry, that would be disastrous. As they argued, I glanced at the window. The glass that had been removed earlier was now covered with clothes. I just didn't know if it could block the wind, thinking back to my past life, when Mary and Lisa, backed by Jack, forced me, still recovering from childbirth, to venture out in a snowstorm to find food, beating and scolding me at the slightest dissatisfaction. Seeing them turn on each other now fills me with immense joy. The snow showed no signs of stopping, with some areas already buried under 2 meters of accumulation. The temperature had dropped to -60 degrees. Although we had abundant supplies and no worries about food and drink, the days of being unable to go outside were extremely dull. Fully bundled up, my dad and I built a snowman in the yard. I remembered how every winter when it snowed during my childhood, he would make a snowman for me and take photos as keepsakes. Now I can do the same for my daughter, though she doesn't understand anything. Both Dad and I are extremely excited. Mom was cooking in the kitchen but kept running out to see us, watching Dad and me tumbling on the ground in hilarious poses. She laughed heartily. This time, with enough snow, Dad built a snowman bigger than ever before, and we took a family photo together. This is how people are. They only learn to cherish what they have after losing it. If I could do it all over again, I would never have married Jack against my parents' wishes. As for Jack, he often beat Lisa over the last scraps of food. I saw Lisa's bruised face and the scratches on Jack's face and neck. So now he's not worried about hurting the precious son in her belly. In my sleep, I caught the tantalizing aroma of braised pork and beef stew, making me cry with hunger. I got up and walked to the kitchen. It wasn't a dream after all. I saw my mom bustling about, and she had even made my favorite braised pork ribs, stir-fried tomatoes with eggs. I picked up a steaming piece of rib, tender, flavorful, and oh so delicious. Wow, it was amazing. I asked Mom why she had made so many delicious dishes today. The aroma could be smelled from miles away. What if it attracted bad people? You don't think just because 30 days have passed, your postpartum confinement is over. Back in my hometown, women must rest for at least 60 days, a woman's health. If you don't recover properly during confinement, you'll be left with lifelong ailments. Dad glanced at his daughter. Yes, we love our girl, but we love you even more. You're the apple of your mom's and my eye. I could no longer hold back, tears streaming down my face as I recalled all the hardships I'd endured at Jack's place, making my parents worry so much. My hatred for Jack grew deeper. I took a photo of the food on the table and posted it on my social media, setting it to be visible only to family members, but forgot to block Jack. Soon after, I received a voice message from Jack. Kathy, Where are you, still able to eat so well? Who made the braised pork for you? Bring it to me right now. I ignored him and continued enjoying the feast with my parents. He made a video call. Kathy, where the hell are you? Why do you still have such lavish food? I told you to bring it to me. Are you deaf? I ate a piece of braised pork right in front of him but remained silent. Furious, he kept pressing me. I replied coolly, yes, not only am I deaf, but I'm also blind. Otherwise, how could I have ended up picking trash like you, Jack? We're already divorced, I have no obligation to be nice to you, and you have no right to ask where I am. I hung up the phone. Jack must have turned green with rage, never expecting someone as gentle as me to treat him this way. This idiot, how could he not realize that I'm at the villa with my parents? The phone's message tone rang, and his voice softened. Kathy, I was wrong before. Only now do I realize that Lisa is nowhere near as good as you. She's lazy and ignorant. I miss you so much. Where are you? I just want to see you. Please forgive me, okay? You always used to have meals ready waiting for me when I came home. How could you bear to let me starve like this? I glanced at the text message, wondering what interesting things might happen if his little lover saw it. How could I possibly feel sorry for him? Even if he died right in front of me, I wouldn't spare him a second glance. I forwarded these messages to Lisa. Back then, she knowingly became the other woman and sent me screenshots of her flirty chats with Jack. Now, I'm just giving her a taste of her own medicine. Opening the surveillance feed, I saw Lisa throw her phone onto the couch and slap Jack across the face. You've been contacting Kathy behind my back, and you said I'm inferior to her in every way. Mary saw her son being beaten and rushed forward to grab Lisa's hair. The two women wrestled fiercely. Though Mary was thin, she had done farm work in her youth and was full of strength. Lisa was no match for her. Lisa was increasingly at a disadvantage, pinned firmly beneath Mary and unable to move. Suddenly, she shouted, Mom, stop fighting. What if you hurt your precious grandson? Hearing this, Mary immediately sprang up from Lisa. Though she reached out to help her up, she couldn't resist adding sharply, if you ever dare to bully my son again, I'll skin you alive. Meanwhile, Jack watched as the two women fought over him but made no move to intervene. Despite always preaching about filial piety, he remained completely silent now. I looked at my phone screen and took a sip of coffee, feeling truly relaxed. If they keep starving like this, will the three of them even have the energy to argue? What might they do then? I can't wait to find out. Jack whispered something in Lisa's ear, and all she could do was shake her head and beg for mercy. Jack, I can't do this. I'm still pregnant, and if anything happens, with the current situation, it's not easy to get to a hospital. Although I couldn't hear clearly what Jack said to her, I could guess part of it. In my previous life, it was the same. I went out but couldn't find food, and they actually wanted me to steal from that ruthless man in Unit 1604. Many residents had to hand over their supplies out of fear of him. So in this situation, that man was never short of food or resources. Even men were somewhat afraid of him, let alone a woman like me. From Lisa's words, it seemed that since outright robbery wasn't an option, Jack was probably asking her to offer something in exchange. What else can a fragile woman offer in exchange besides her body? Suddenly, a wave of nausea rose in her throat. Jack was truly disgusting. How could he demand his woman to submit to another man just to support him at a time like this? Wait. Isn't Lisa pregnant? TSK. Jack is really no man at all. Lisa was reluctantly pushed out by Jack. Back then, when she acted like a shrew, demanding that I divorce to make way for her because she was pregnant, she probably never imagined things would turn out like this. Lisa returned, holding 2 sausages and a few packs of instant noodles, her hair disheveled. Weakly, she handed them to the man in front of her. Jack looked at the food that his woman had to sell her body to obtain. Yet he still complained it wasn't enough. I actually felt somewhat grateful to Lisa. Thanks to her, I saw Jack's true colors even more clearly. If it weren't for her, wouldn't I be the one suffering these hardships? I can't remember how many days this snow has been falling. There was no sign of stopping, and the temperature outside was approaching -70 degrees. We had no choice but to keep adding firewood, as warmth could only be felt by standing right in front of the fireplace. Our daughter, bundled up in too many layers, grew restless and started fussing. My parents and I could only keep boiling water and use hot water bottles to stay warm. Unexpectedly, the power went out, the internet was down too, and the water supply had long since stopped. The entire world had fallen into a dead silence. The neighborhood was devoid of any vitality. To conserve as much energy as possible, everyone remained still. with the power outage, the outside was pitch black. And we could only rely on candles for light. No one was in high spirits, and everyone went to bed early after washing up. The howling wind outside made me restless. I tossed and turned on the heated bed, unable to sleep until around 1 a.m., when I finally dozed off, only to be jolted awake by a scream. Though muffled by the strong wind, the sound wasn't loud, but I've always been a light sleeper, so I was certain I hadn't misheard it. I gently shook my father awake and told my mother to take our daughter into the room, lock the door, and stay inside. In the darkness, I saw two figures emerging from the basement. My father and I grabbed the electric batons from under our pillows. Though the intruders hadn't yet reacted, the pain from the electric shock sent them fleeing in panic. I recognized one of the voices. It was the security guard. He had asked me about the supplies I was moving before. He must have been starving and came to take some food. I comforted my mother and daughter while my father went downstairs to check. It turned out the basement door had been left unlocked yesterday, giving them a chance to sneak in. They accidentally cut their hands on the broken glass near the window. It was just a false alarm, but none of us dared to sleep again. At dawn, my father and I went outside to check. Other areas remained undamaged, and the bloodstains had been covered by the heavy snow. We were at the highest point in the neighborhood, and the snow at the basement door wasn't too deep. Ours was the only house in the entire community with smoke rising from the chimney, making it hard not to draw attention. My heart tightened at the thought. If it happened once, there was no guarantee it wouldn't happen again. We were indeed too conspicuous, though the neighborhood didn't have many residents. If a group of men banded together to target our home, we'd be in a passive and dangerous position. Losing supplies was one thing, but what if my parents or daughter got hurt? My dad and I hurried home, took some gasoline from the car, poured it into glass bottles, and made homemade Molotov cocktails. When we renovated the house, we only thought about making it sturdier, never intending to harm anyone. But if someone deliberately tries to hurt us, I won't let them off easily. Just as I was preparing for the worst, good news arrived. Electricity was being supplied for a few hours each day, and I saw something drifting down from the sky in all directions. I went outside to pick it up and saw that it was a government leaflet advising us to stay safe and actively help ourselves, with supplies to be airdropped gradually. I turned on my fully charged phone and saw that there was a bit of network signal. I opened the surveillance app, clicked on the storage function, and checked how Jack was enduring his miserable days. This time, Jack and Mary were together, hitting and cursing at Lisa. I saw Jack kick Lisa hard in the stomach, saying, "You filthy woman, you actually lied about being pregnant to trick me. Did you really think I divorced you just to marry you? I only did it for, my son is gone." What? Hearing this, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. This mother and son were so desperate for a child that they had been fooled by a woman for so long. Lisa lay on the ground, continuously begging for mercy. But the mother and son only intensified their beating. From initial pleas to lying motionless on the floor, Mary finally stopped. Jack sat down on the ground, panting heavily, his hands resting on his knees. It wasn't until his breathing steadied that he viciously returned to his room. To be honest, watching this scene, I didn't feel the slightest bit of sympathy for Lisa. Just as despicable as she had been when she used her pregnancy to force me into a divorce, she was now equally pitiful. It was all her own doing. Later, Lisa woke up. I saw her face, covered in blood. She struggled to get up from the ground, brushed off the dust, and went to the bedroom closet to take out a small bag. She put all the remaining food on the table into it. Was she actually planning to leave? But how could I possibly let her go? I video called Jack. He answered drowsily. "Jack, how have you been lately? Your little lover must be treating you well, huh? Got enough food to eat?" Upon hearing about the food, he instinctively glanced at the table, then immediately jumped up and ran to the living room, but Lisa was nowhere to be seen. Mom, get up, that bitch Lisa took all our food." Mary came out of the room, and the two of them ran down the hallway while looking downstairs. Lisa had just reached the first floor. Jack grabbed her by the hair and dragged her back into the house. His bloodshot eyes were filled with murderous intent as he punched Lisa's head repeatedly. After a few screams, Lisa stopped reacting, but Jack still wasn't satisfied. Despite Mary pulling at him and trying to stop him, he remained unmoved. He rushed to the kitchen, grabbed a pair of scissors, and cut off all of Lisa's blood-soaked hair. "You filthy whore. Stealing my food, you love beauty, don't you? I'll cut off all your hair. Let's see how you'll show your face outside now." I never would have imagined that Jack, usually so weak, could have such a cruel side. Lisa was beaten to death by him, in the face of survival, a human life could be worth so little, just for a few packs of instant noodles. Looking at all this before me, I suddenly felt fortunate to have seen Jack's true colors. This man I once planned to spend my life with turned out to be so violent and selfish. Didn't he treat me the same way before? At our wedding, he made solemn vows, promising to protect me for a lifetime, yet in the end, he betrayed our love. I wonder if he felt even a shred of remorse when he and Mary suffocated me with a pillow. In this life, Lisa merely died in my place. But my heart had already died in the previous lifetime, when my parents saw my reddened eyes. They immediately asked what had happened. Wiping away my tears, I told them about the incident. My father said, "When we opposed your relationship back then, it wasn't about looking down on his poverty or coveting wealth. It's just that Jack truly isn't someone worth entrusting your life to. We were afraid you'd get hurt. Your mother sometimes can't sleep at night because she's so worried about you," sighing constantly. Hearing this made me even sadder. I never imagined that marrying Jack without hesitation would cause my parents so much distress. It wasn't Lisa who ruined our relationship. Even without Lisa, there would have been someone else. The root of the problem lies in Jack's poor character and lack of upbringing. Spoiled by Mary, he became selfish and self-centered, caring only about himself. I went back to my room and tore up all the photos of Jack and me together. Did he look just as ferocious when he was killing me? It felt like revenge, but it brought me no joy at all. Does Lisa deserve to die? I can't give a definitive answer, but she made one wrong move and lost her life for it. It's truly not worth it. Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world. In the evening, Mom prepared a table full of delicious dishes, saying we should celebrate my rebirth. Thanks to the heavens' mercy, I ultimately escaped disaster. At this moment, I feel incredibly happy. It turns out nothing in this world is more important than being together as a family. I can't remember how long it's been snowing. The internet comes and goes, and sometimes I can't bear to check the news. The death toll keeps rising, ground transportation is completely paralyzed, and supplies can only be airdropped. But it's just a drop in the bucket. Most people can't even get one full meal a day. We try to conserve as much as possible, staying in bed most of the time, covered with several thick quilts to avoid freezing. I don't know when this disaster will end. Jack sent me a photo. He was holding some kind of meat. I saw Mary lying motionless on the ground, a knife in her hand, her legs covered in blood. I zoomed in, puzzled, and noticed a spot on her thigh where the bone was faintly visible. My stomach churned violently, and I couldn't help but vomit, amid the disgust. I also felt somewhat moved. How heartbreaking is a parent's love, under such circumstances. Mary would rather sacrifice herself to protect her child. If I were in her shoes, wouldn't I make the same decision when pushed to the brink? Jack sent a message: "The person who loves me most in this world is my mom. All you filthy women can go to hell." I silently turned off my phone. Though Mary is despicable, she truly loves her son. It's not easy for a woman to raise a child alone. I can only hope he turns his life around someday. The snow began to lessen, quietly stopping on a peaceful night without a sound. At first, everyone thought it was just a temporary pause, but after waiting a day, it never resumed. The property management started organizing everyone to come out and shovel the snow. I stood under the sunlight, greedily soaking it in. People all had the illusion of having narrowly escaped disaster. This nightmare was almost over. People began to help themselves, and the government was also making great efforts in disaster relief. My dad and I joined the volunteers, clearing snow from the neighborhood and highways. Everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. Social order is gradually being restored, and before we knew it, the year was coming to an end. After the prolonged blizzard, this winter wasn't as cold as previous years. Due to the severe disaster, the government accelerated the urban renewal plan. The area where our old house was located has been designated as a health and recreation square. This natural disaster made everyone realize the importance of physical health. My parents now frequently exercise, and I quit my old job to open an art studio, specializing in teaching children how to paint. The adult world is too complicated. I prefer spending time with innocent children. I took some time to visit Jack's house. Mary had died from excessive blood loss due to the flesh-cutting wound, and Lisa's body had not been dealt with. Jack was taken away by the police. We successfully got divorced. When I heard news about my ex-husband again, it was that he had committed suicide under unbearable pressure. Since Mary and Jack were dead, my daughter became the sole heir to their self-built house. The government plans to open a new subway line nearby, and with the compensation from my own house, it's enough for my daughter to live comfortably for the rest of her life. disasters, and rebirth have taught me the meaning of living in the present. With my parents and daughter by my side, I am truly blessed. Today, my daughter called me Mom for the first time. I grabbed my phone to capture this priceless moment. On New Year's Eve, my parents and I prepared a lavish reunion dinner. As we watched the Spring Festival Gala together, I whispered to my daughter, "Happy New Year, may this year be better than the last." After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, let's continue to see another similar story. The apocalypse arrives, sending scumbags and bitches to their doom. As the apocalypse descends, screams and zombie growls echo from downstairs. My boyfriend and my sister-in-law are having an affair, looting all our household supplies. They even joined forces to push me out the 39th floor window to feed the zombies. Alice, don't blame me. Every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost. After being reborn, I teamed up with my brother to stockpile supplies and reinforce the base, but that despicable couple came begging us to save them. "I'm your sister-in-law, he's your boyfriend. How could you just stand by and watch me die, watching them get torn apart by zombies?" I smiled. "Every man for himself, or heaven and earth will destroy you." Alice, don't blame me. He who does not live for himself shall be destroyed by heaven and earth. My body suddenly felt weightless, completely drained of strength. I watched clearly as my boyfriend and sister-in-law pushed me off the 39th floor with their own hands. I fell straight into the mouths of the grotesque, fanged zombies below. 4 or 5 zombies were tearing at my body simultaneously. I woke up from the nightmare. I hadn't fallen off a building, nor were there any zombies. Yet the areas where I'd been torn in the dream still ached faintly. I hurriedly stood up. Knocking over the water glass on the table, picked up my phone, Wi-Fi signal full bars, glanced down at the date, June 15th. This is it, 1 month before the apocalypse. My hands were shaking uncontrollably as I checked the number over and over again, afraid it might just be another one of my dreams. It's true, I've actually been reborn. My body trembled, and my phone slipped from my hands several times. I dialed that all too familiar number, beep. After a prolonged tone, I held my breath, afraid that what would respond to me was a cold, electronic female voice. From the other end came noisy shouts and cheers. "Hey, bro." Hearing that familiar voice, my nose tingled with emotion. I couldn't hold back the tears any longer. The voice over there seemed to drift between near and far. Before long, silence fell over that side. Then, my brother William's voice came through clearly. "Alice, tell me the truth. Did that Sam guy bully you?" I sniffled. "No, bro. I just kinda miss you." "William, where are you going?" "William, last match, promotion game, something came up. I'm done playing, going home." In less than half an hour, William was back home. With a stern face, he lifted me up by the scruff. "What did he do to you? Did I hit you, scold you, or cheat on you?" "No." William breathed a sigh of relief. "Have you gone stupid from work? I told you that crappy job isn't worth it. You might as well come be the network admin at our club." William collapsed onto my bed and casually unwrapped one of the cheese sticks from my bedside. "Bro, Sherry and Sam killed me." William sat up. "What nonsense are you talking about? Sherry is your sister-in-law." "I'm not talking nonsense. 1 month from now, the apocalypse will begin, and zombies will slaughter humans en masse. Sherry let Sam into the house, took all our remaining food, and pushed me off the building." William wanted to laugh, but seeing my unusually serious expression, he swallowed his smile. "Seriously, are you under too much work pressure lately? Don't even mention the apocalypse. It sounds absurd. Sherry and that brat Sam, they're not even remotely connected." Sherry changed her name. Her original name was Sherry Smith. She was the adopted daughter of the Smith family, Sam's sister. 5 years ago, she had a falling out with the Smiths and cut off all contact. The reason? The Smith parents discovered the illicit relationship between the siblings. William spat out the stick of his cheese snack. "Bro, isn't Chandler from your club a computer expert? You could just ask him to check and find out if this is true or false." After a long silence, William made a phone call. He knew very well that unless it was something serious, I wouldn't have called him bro several times. About half an hour later, the call was returned. "William, I've sent you everything I found." After reviewing all the materials, William's face darkened frighteningly. He stood up and scrutinized me carefully from head to toe. "How dare they do this to you, brother? The most important thing right now isn't this, it's how to survive the apocalypse. Brother, stay alive. Staying alive is what matters most." William let out a heavy sigh. Ding dong, 2 notification sounds chimed simultaneously. Sam, I'm working overtime at the company tonight, so I won't be coming home to sleep, sweetie. Leo mentioned there's a dinner gathering tonight. Not sure if we'll drink, so I'm letting you know in advance that I might not reply to messages promptly. William and I exchanged glances, and he gave a wry smile, a fist slammed onto the table. Fuck, spending my money to cheat right under my nose, thinking you can fool me like an idiot, huh? I grabbed his arm. Bro, didn't you say before that all the club's money is with Sherry? I'm not that stupid either. The club's money is in another account of mine. I've transferred all my personal earnings to her, the money from streaming, tournaments, and sponsorships, all of it. Bro, we need to figure out a way to get the money back without making her suspicious. I really want to see how long this perfect sibling duo can survive in this post-apocalyptic world without money or food. Got it, I'll tell her right away. I gave him a skeptical look. Bro, you're not going soft on me, are you? William pressed his hand against my head. In your eyes. Is your brother just some lovesick fool who can't tell right from wrong? His eyes gleamed with a bloodthirsty light. If they dare lay a finger on the people closest to me, they'll pay an equally painful price. The most urgent thing now is to hoard supplies like crazy. Home is not safe. The zombies' attack power is too high. The heavy iron gate that seems sturdy can be easily torn open by them with just a light pull. After the apocalypse arrived, the zombies swept through every household like locusts crossing the land. The entire world has become a living hell. Because my home is on the 39th floor, it was taken over a bit later. If I hadn't been pushed off by that despicable couple, I would most likely have died from the zombies' gaping jaws. I sat down and carefully listed out the supplies I would need. William rushed back to the club. He swiftly disbanded the club, giving everyone a substantial severance package. He also intentionally or unintentionally reminded them to stock up on supplies and stay safe. The team members were baffled. William said he had lost too much money running the club and even borrowed from loan sharks. Now, with the interest compounding, the debt had reached a terrifying amount, and he couldn't repay it, so he planned to flee abroad to escape the debt. To avoid implicating everyone, the decision was made to disband. He also showed everyone the equity transfer agreement, proving that he had sold the club. After all, in times like the apocalypse, human nature is the most unpredictable thing. At such a life and death moment, we truly have no time to spare for others. William asked me to finish up the errands and move into the club to live with him today. I went to the company and requested a long annual leave. I said I planned to go home to get married and prepare for pregnancy. The HR gave me a regretful look, probably thinking my decision to give up a promising career for marriage and children was foolish. By the time I come back after having my baby, there will definitely be no place left for me in the company. I also think it's very stupid. The house we live in now was bought outright by my brother. He dropped out of school very early. Because he had some talent in gaming, he was recruited by a certain club to become a professional player and compete in tournaments. Later, due to the baby lock rule, he couldn't play for another 2 years. Esports is a career that heavily relies on youth. Later, during the transfer period, he went independent and started his own club. I also organized gaming squads and participated in competitions, making a few good brothers along the way. So all my expenses before graduation were covered by William. I checked the balance in my card. It was around 100,000. If I hadn't started dating Sam, I should be able to save more. He's 2 years younger than me, and he was still in school when I started working. Most of the daily expenses were also covered by me. I expressionlessly stopped the family card I had opened for him. The first thing to consider is the energy issue. William told me their club has sufficient energy reserves. I wasn't entirely reassured, so the first thing I did upon arriving at the club was to inventory the energy supplies in the warehouse. He pushed open the door and carefully explained to me what was inside the warehouse. The club makes a living by playing esports, so their biggest fear is power outages or internet disruptions. When they were looking for a base, they chose a remote location that was close to a fiber optic hub. The club is covered with solar panels, and the warehouse has dozens of generators and countless large-capacity batteries. In one corner of the warehouse, everything is neatly stacked. Old Fish explained that those are inverters and voltage boosters. The current flowing from any battery is direct current, DC. These two things are needed to convert this DC into the current that household appliances can use, and they also serve as a precaution. I'm quite satisfied with this. I didn't expect William's small club to have such complete energy reserves. I noticed there's another door after entering through the main gate outside. What's that for? That's to protect against some terrifying stalkers and anti-fans. In the past few seasons, our team didn't perform very well, but we still managed to keep our permanent spot. Some fans from other teams were very unhappy, and there were instances where they sent things like prosthetic limbs and bloody, disturbing items to intimidate our teammates. Some people even went as far as chasing us to the base and ambushing us. I pondered thoughtfully. So, how strong is this door's defense? William patted his chest confidently. Rock solid. The glass door and security door are both explosion-proof grade. That middle door was specially made with unique materials I sourced through some friends. Without exaggeration, even Ultraman might not be able to break through after a full round of attacks. I turned to William. Bro, can we add another layer? After all, we can't be sure just how high the zombies' attack power might scale. William picked up the phone and nodded. I'll contact my friends again. William also mysteriously led me to the connecting area between the first-floor restroom and the staircase. He moved aside a crate of mineral water and turned on a faucet. A small door swung open. As I descended the stairs, my views suddenly expanded. It was a vast, empty basement. William said that no one except him knew about such a hidden space beneath the club. Even the team members who spent every day eating, drinking, and sleeping at the club were completely unaware. My vision blurred as tears welled up in the corners of my eyes. Perhaps this time, we might truly have a chance to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. I took out the checklist and marked it off. The next issue was the matter of daily supplies. The club had a massive water demand, with truckloads of drinking water being delivered every day. I had William notify the water delivery company to increase the supply several times over. No one ever complains about having too much of the source of life. The club had already stocked up plenty of food. Most of them were night owls, and staying up late to play games or place orders made them prone to hunger. It's too far from the city center here. Not many food deliveries can reach this place. I checked the supplies. They might last a few days, but definitely not enough for several months to half a year. William gave me a card. This contains all the club's earnings from the past few years, he said. Feel free to swipe. William drove me to the wholesale market, where staples like rice, flour, and oil were essential items. I visited every wholesale grain store, ordering 100 pounds from each and providing a fake address at every stop. We could just drive to pick up the supplies and bring them back to the base later. We pretended to be a brother and sister pair planning to open a chain of restaurants, purchasing boxes upon boxes of vegetables and fruits at every stall. Potatoes, winter melons, radishes, and other long-lasting produce were bought in bulk without hesitation, as the club's basement had ample storage space for perishable fruits and vegetables. We bought no more than 20 boxes of each type, and nearby spice shops were completely cleared out by us. We only bought a portion of fresh meat, partly because it was difficult to store and the club's refrigerators weren't sufficient. Second, if not eaten in time, the foul stench emitted by rotting meat would actually hasten our demise. Zombies have an extremely acute sense of smell. We prepared more cured and smoked meats, which can be preserved for a long time without spoiling. Additionally, due to the high salt content during preparation, they are more filling than fresh meat. Seeing William and me shopping without hesitation, like money was no object, the bosses at the wholesale market looked at us as if we were the god of wealth. They proactively offered discounts and even mentioned home delivery, hinting at building a good relationship for long-term business. I played along with a knowing smile. No problem, if you can guarantee quality and quantity. My restaurant will only source from you in the future, even if it's a bit farther away. William, watching me sweet-talk every boss so skillfully, quietly gave me a thumbs up. The money flowed like water throughout the trip. The remaining task was to figure out how to transport these things back to the club without drawing too much attention. William said he had a solution. He somehow got his hands on a large truck and fully equipped himself with a headscarf, sunglasses, and work clothes. Even after living with him for over 20 years, I might not necessarily recognize him. He went out to transport these items, while I started online shopping for other essential goods. First, some instant food products, instant noodles, self-heating hot pots, self-heating rice, along with large quantities of nuts and canned meats, items that can be stored for a long time. I ordered at least 100 boxes of each, using different fake addresses. We can just have William drive to pick them up later. I died shortly after the apocalypse began, so I couldn't determine how long it would last, but I still had some daily necessities. Therefore, consumables like tissues, wet wipes, sanitary pads, hand warmers, and air fresheners were stocked in quantities of at least 500. Planning for the long haul, medicines were also essential. I added all the useful medications I could think of for common symptoms to the shopping cart. There are limits to buying too much medicine online. I was planning to wait for my brother to come back and raid a few nearby pharmacies. In the apocalypse, besides being wary of zombies, you also need to watch out for people worse than pigs and dogs. After all, people will do anything to survive. I also bought some stun batons, iron rods, pepper spray, and other similar items. I checked the list item by item to fill in the gaps. And William came back through the door. "Don't turn on the light." I stopped him. "Starting today, let's minimize turning on the lights. Since we've decided to sell the club, we might as well go all out with the act, bro. Remember to coordinate with the water and electricity suppliers too, so we don't give ourselves away." William nodded and took out a large bag of items from his hands. "I bought these double-layer blackout curtains and privacy films. I'll go put them up later. I had that special material door sent to another address before. I'll go pick it up in a couple of days and install it myself. Here are also some door stoppers and heavy-duty chains, anything to buy us some time. There are also some pinhole cameras. The club originally had a few, but I thought they might not be enough, so I bought some more." I was somewhat surprised. I never expected William, who usually seems so carefree, to be so thoughtful. Our parents passed away early, and William has been both father and mother to me, raising me all these years. My voice choked up a little. "Bro, you've worked hard." He ruffled my hair roughly. "What are you talking about, silly girl? I'm your brother." Buzz, buzz, the empty club echoed with the successive ringing of phone calls. I answered Sam's call. "Baby, why did you suddenly stop the family card without even discussing it with me?" His voice sounded panicked, with a hint of blame and anger. I put the call on speaker, and William let out a few cold laughs. "Baby, where are you? I went to the company to find you, and they said you took leave to get married." "What marriage? You didn't even tell me." "Yeah, I'm getting married, but not to you, Sam. We're done." There was a long silence on the other end of the line before Sam's voice rose several octaves. "Alice, what do you mean by that?" "Exactly what I said. From now on, you go your way and I'll go mine. You and your dear sister Sherry can live happily ever after." I hung up the phone. William also blocked all of Sherry's contact information without batting an eye. "Bro, I got the money back 2 days ago. I told her the club needed funds for cash flow and would transfer it to her in a couple of days." William shook his phone. For the next few days, we kept moving things into the club non-stop. Perhaps because she couldn't find William and me at home, Sherry actually came looking for us at the club once. The club surveillance footage showed her circling the entrance, trying the password multiple times only to be met with "incorrect password" each time, kicked the iron door hard in anger. She also called each of the former club members to ask, and every response was the same: William was heavily in debt, sold the club, and fled the country. We thought Sherry would leave immediately, but instead, she made a phone call. About 10 minutes later, Sam appeared at the club entrance with a grim expression. They tried to climb over the wall to get in. The club's wall was 2 to 3 meters high, covered with sharp glass shards and iron spikes, impossible for an ordinary person to scale. They made several attempts but failed each time. In the end, Sam put his arm around a reluctant Sherry and left. I looked at William with a half-smile. "Your wife ran off with someone," William snorted coldly, "and your boyfriend ran off with someone too. To kill 1,000 enemies at the cost of 800 of your own, unfortunately." One day when I was planning to move some important things from home to the club, someone suddenly jumped out from behind and covered my mouth, dragged me into the stairwell. I clawed and bit, kicking him away with all my strength. It was Sam. He looked furious and utterly disheveled. It must be that I deactivated his family card. "These past few days have been really tough, Alice. You're truly heartless. Takes one to know one." I didn't want to waste any more words on him. Picking up my bag, I tried to run, but he grabbed me back again. He lowered his voice. "Alice, baby, are you still angry? I can explain everything. Sherry and I don't want to hear it. You have to listen. You must have misunderstood me. Can you please add the family card back first? Let's go home, and I'll explain everything to you slowly." Sam pushed me toward the house aggressively. I slapped him hard across the face. "Misunderstanding? How could you two be so shameless when you were using my and my brother's cards to pay for your affair?" Sam froze in place. "Let go of me, you disgust me." Sam held on tighter. "No, that's not how it is. Sam, why are you still talking to her?" At the corner of the stairs stood Sherry. Her makeup was no longer as meticulous as before, and there was a hint of exhaustion in her eyes. "Could it be that you still have feelings for her?" Sam loosened his grip slightly, his face filled with inner conflict. "Sis, Sherry patted my face, her long nails grazing across my skin. Alice, you'd better obediently transfer the money to Sam's account, otherwise, I can't guarantee what kind of marks might appear on that pretty face of yours. If you really refuse to cooperate, then I'll have no choice but to fake your death, if I pretend to have risked my life to save you. Your brother, being such a sentimental and righteous person, will likely forgive me as long as I act remorseful and shed a few tears. There shouldn't be any issues. My eyes burned with fury. Sherry, you're despicable and shameless, Sherry sneered. Isn't it you who ruined the wonderful life the four of us had? Why did you have to tell Sam after finding out? Weren't we all living peacefully and happily before? I trembled with rage. Sherry actually had the audacity to say such things without a hint of guilt. Alice, don't blame me. Every man for himself and the devil takes the hindmost. I forced a smile. Let me go. I'll transfer the money to you with my phone. Sherry signaled Sam to release me. You'd better not try anything funny. You're in our hands now, and we wouldn't mind going down together. Pretending to agree, I fumbled through my bag. While they weren't paying attention, I frantically sprayed the anti-wolf spray, then I turned and ran outside as fast as I could. Caught off guard, both of them were hit squarely by my spray. My home is on the 39th floor, and waiting for the elevator would have been too slow to escape. I immediately ran toward the stairwell. They realized what was happening and chased closely behind me. 29th floor, 28th floor, 3rd floor, almost there. I twisted my ankle and tumbled straight down the stairs. Gritting my teeth, I tried to stand up. But Sam had already chased me to the 1st floor. Alice, stop running, be a good girl. His hand reached for my arm, then he was knocked to the ground with a single punch. Bro, Sherry, who followed closely behind, was also stunned. Sam, I finally get to see you, let me explain. William's face darkened, completely ignoring Sherry. He punched Sam repeatedly. Sam, Sherry screamed, trying to stop William. He was violently shoved away by William. Get out. I called the police and stopped William when he had beaten him enough. All right, bro, I've called the police. William loosened his fists, and I looked at Sam, covered in blood with his face swollen like a pig's head, feeling somewhat concerned. Bro, you beat him up like this, aren't you afraid you'll be the one getting arrested? William sneered. Don't worry, I've trained in boxing, I know how to make it hurt without leaving obvious marks. After being brutally beaten, Sam and Sherry were both sent to the police station. They wanted to falsely accuse me and William of intentional harm, but then they heard the recording from my phone. Wherever I go, I keep William on the phone. The situation is tense now, and he must ensure my safety. That's also why he arrived in time. William was ruled to have acted in self-defense and was acquitted not long after. Sam and Sherry have to compensate me a hefty sum for emotional damages and will also be detained for 15 days. I let out a long sigh of relief. Serves them right. Today is July 14th, and the weather is overcast. Only one day remains until the apocalypse begins. We packed the club to the brim, leaving only a narrow aisle in the basement barely enough for us to squeeze in and grab things. At exactly midnight, a post about a club owner fleeing debts, domestic violence, and dumping massive loan sharks on his girlfriend of 5 years skyrocketed to the top of the trending list. Discussions about William's club are everywhere, and William has become the universally despised scumbag of the internet. Probably Sherry and Sam have been released. William spat in disgust, told me not to bother. In an unknown corner, news about frequent outbreaks of rabies in several coastal cities sank into oblivion. Earlier, several foreign reports mentioned cases where some young people suddenly developed symptoms resembling rabies, biting others on the streets. But everyone just treated it as a joke. No one cared. William didn't write a lengthy rebuttal. Instead, he simply used the club's official account to post some intimate photos of Sherry and Sam from the past 5 years. He also enlisted Chandler's help to hack into Sam's school confession wall. The wall was flooded with Sam's dirty laundry, being a freeloader, cheating, and falling for the sister he grew up with. There was no way to delete any of it. A photo of Sherry's family was attached. In the post, William also subtly hinted that everyone could stock up on more food supplies at home, just in case. The public opinion instantly reversed. William turned off his phone. No matter how heated the online discussions became, it ultimately had nothing to do with us anymore. The apocalypse has arrived. At the entrance of many residential compounds, a dense crowd of people, in eerie postures, broke through the security booth and scattered into the neighborhood. They were zombies. The security guard didn't even have time to scream before a zombie behind him bit down, instantly splattering blood that covered the entire screen. I opened my phone and looked at the familiar yet despairing scenes in the video. Still unable to stop my whole body from trembling, William brought me a bowl of noodles, with only a small night light on the club's table emitting a faint glow. He took my phone away. Eat, don't watch anymore. Brother, are we going to die? William patted my head and remained silent. I still opened my phone and glanced at my social media feed. The screen was filled with posts about zombies, with a few scattered friends reaching out to check on my safety. I didn't reply, whether they were asking about safety or probing for resources, only heaven knows. I couldn't bet my life on it. Everywhere, there were messages from everyone trying to buy food, and the price of a single portion of food was skyrocketing. But no one is a fool. In these apocalyptic times, food is the most valuable thing. Money is more useless than scrap paper. The TV is also frantically broadcasting reports about the contagious nature of human bites, desperately urging everyone to stay calm, avoid going outside, and wait for national rescue efforts. Many people are seeking help online, as most households don't have enough surplus food stockpiled. But this won't end so quickly. We're still in the early stages of the virus spread. And the number of infected people isn't high yet. After witnessing the horrific scenes of zombies biting people, every household has locked their doors and stayed inside. By nightfall, the zombies become much more active. It's pitch black outside. Some people, clinging to hope, secretly turned on the lights. As a result, the zombies downstairs seem to have found a clear target, swarming into the building like a frenzied horde. They began slamming their bodies against the door, over and over again. The security doors in this neighborhood are as fragile as cardboard in the eyes of zombies. With a few swift strikes, they broke through the door, and the building echoed with blood-curdling screams, only to fall silent within minutes. Soon after came the eerie sound of gnawing and chewing. Now everyone understood the zombies' attraction to light. The entire city grew dim and quiet. My heart grew increasingly uneasy. This was exactly how it happened in my previous life. The city center, densely populated, fell with terrifying speed. Gradually, everyone realized they had to flee to sparsely populated areas. This instead drew the zombies to the outskirts of the city, which had previously been largely unaffected. William's club was located far from the city center. This place used to be a graveyard. Neither William nor I dared to sleep, afraid that some unexpected situation might arise. In the end, it was William who forced me to go to sleep, saying we could take turns keeping watch after I got some rest. This way, we could conserve our energy and stamina. It's only been a few days since the apocalypse began, and human nature hasn't yet been completely driven to desperation. The truly difficult days are still ahead. Sherry's words, "Every man for himself, or heaven and earth will destroy him," kept echoing in my mind. A week after the zombies arrived, the internet signal became very poor. The data kept spinning endlessly before finally turning into a blank white screen. William and I have been surviving on instant food these past few days, with the entire club tightly sealed off by the curtains we put up earlier. Some scattered zombies have been lured to this area by panicked people fleeing in all directions. The club surveillance shows a few zombies wandering aimlessly at the entrance. 2 zombies even tried to break through the club's iron gate by throwing themselves against it. The outermost iron gate of the club was an ordinary one, easily broken through by them. Before they could excitedly rush in, the second iron gate mercilessly blocked their way. I watched in terror as they relentlessly and mindlessly slammed against the door again and again. The hinges of the door clanged violently with each impact, as if the zombie horde would overrun this place any second. They tirelessly repeated the impact motion, day after day. Finally, after 3 days, those stubborn zombies tilted their mechanical heads slightly and sniffed carefully at the inside of the door, as if realizing that this door wasn't so easy to open, nor was there anything inside worth their full effort to blast it open. They staggered away. My palms were drenched in sweat. But before I could even catch my breath, the surveillance showed a pickup truck pulling up at the club's entrance. Several menacing figures stepped out of the vehicle, led by a bald-headed man. He had 3 distinct scars on his face and dragged 2 people out of the truck. Both William and I were stunned. It was Sherry and Sam. The bald man viciously kicked Sam and grabbed Sherry by the hair. "You damn bitch. Is this the so-called safe haven you promised?" Sherry's lips were still bleeding, her face filled with terror. "Bob, trust me, this used to be a huge gaming club. There must be plenty of supplies inside. If you don't believe me, just look at that door. It's so heavily guarded. They're probably hiding in there." My heart was pounding in my throat. I didn't know if Sherry was making a wild guess to save her life or if she actually had inside information, but she happened to be right by sheer luck. The man named Bob slapped Sherry hard twice. "Believe you. You fucking told me you were single, and then you sneak around with this pretty boy behind my back." Bob pulled a gun from his waist and pressed it against Sam's head. Both Sherry and Sam trembled in fear. Turns out, without my brother as her cash cow, Sherry latched onto some local troublemaker. "Hey, third wheel, go pry that door open." A shifty-eyed guy from Bob's crew walked up to the door and started fiddling with the keypad lock. Whoa, kid actually pissed himself. Bob and the crowd behind him burst into laughter. "How dare you be so bold when sleeping with your sister?" The gun pressed harder against his temple. "I suddenly thought of something fun." Bob smirked maliciously and handed the gun to Sam, who was collapsed on the ground. "Only one of you can live. Kill her or kill yourself. You choose." Sam took the gun with trembling hands. Sherry gave him a sorrowful look. "Sam," Bob kicked him. "Hurry up and choose." Sam let out a painful scream, followed by a gunshot that echoed through the sky. Sherry's eyes stared at him fiercely, wide open in death. Sam knelt before Bob. I killed someone. I killed her. Now can you let me go? I beg you, please." My heart was filled with mixed emotions. How could I have fallen for such a terrible person? Bang! Another familiar gunshot rang out. Sam coughed up mouthfuls of blood, collapsed to the ground, and didn't move again. Bob stepped on his head and spat. "Even worse than a damn animal, Bob. This door won't open." Bob kicked Sam's corpse aside and came to inspect the second door of the club. "Fuck, get your guns out. Damn it, I don't believe we can't blast open this fucking door with all these bullets." Gunshots rang out incessantly, one after another. The material of that door was indeed special. No amount of brute force could break it open, but we couldn't guarantee it would remain intact under such heavy fire. Damn it, these guys are insane. Instead of using all those bullets on the zombies, they're just blasting away at a damn door. William couldn't help but curse. Both William and I jumped up from the couch, each holding a stun gun as we stood by the door. I swallowed hard instinctively. They had guns, and we couldn't be sure what would happen if they really broke in. Can we survive? The last gunshot came to a stop. The second door of the club was blasted open with a crack. The group took chainsaws and axes from the car and began frantically hacking along the crack. The second door was completely broken through. "It's broken, it's broken." Just as the group was eagerly rushing in, the third door I had William add blocked their path. Behind the door stood William and me, already drenched in sweat and cold perspiration. "Damn it, there's another door. What the hell kind of game club is this?" They began counting their remaining bullets as the roaring chainsaw sound drew closer. Suddenly, several screams rang out. I frantically looked at the surveillance feed, where several underlings' heads and necks were instantly separated. Turns out, the commotion caused by this group was too loud, attracting the zombies that had already left to return in an endless cycle. The bald man struggled with the zombies, and before long, the place became overrun by them. What's clear is that now, over a month into the apocalypse, some zombies have evolved a degree of intelligence, no longer mindlessly gnawing at people. After all of Bob's people had turned into zombies, the leading zombie picked up the chainsaw from the ground and began hacking away at our last line of defense, blow after blow. The phone signal was intermittent, and messages kept popping up one after another. It seemed that humanity had finally begun to recover from the swift onslaught of the zombie horde. As more and more rescue messages began to emerge, countless green dots appeared on the mobile map, marking the continuously emerging safe bases. William and I clutched our phones in despair. But so what? Surrounded by zombies already, could we even hold out until the rescue team arrived? William and I both looked extremely grim. "Bro, let's hide in the basement." William hesitated slightly. "The basement has thin air. If we seal the entrance completely, there won't be any air circulation at all. We wouldn't last more than 5 days down there." Back then, if we didn't get bitten to death by zombies, we'd have suffocated to death. Still better than dying in a zombie's mouth. I quickly went to the bathroom to grab several wet towels and had William help me wipe down every spot we'd been in. I also brought out the air freshener I'd bought earlier and sprayed every corner thoroughly. I messed up everything in the living room. After finishing all this, William pulled me to twist open that faucet. We crawled inside. With a click sound, this small door completely cut us off from the outside world. "Bro," my voice trembled slightly, unable to imagine how much longer this door could hold. William also looked grave, patting my hand. He didn't know how to comfort me either. "Alice, if life becomes truly unbearable, an early death might not be so bad. You could reunite with Mom and Dad sooner that way. Thankfully, in this life, I've been by your side all along." Just thinking about how in your previous life you were left alone to be bullied to death by that despicable couple makes me wish I could drink their blood and eat their flesh." I laughed through my tears. "Well then, why don't you just stick your hand out now and let a zombie take a bite? Just remember to bite me gently, I'm afraid of pain." The door behind us was on the verge of collapse. That being said, who can truly not fear death? William and I exchanged silent glances. We were hiding in the basement on the third day. A loud noise came from outside, and my heart skipped a beat. Most likely, those zombies had broken in. The excited roars of the zombies echoed throughout the club. "The sound is very close now. They use their brute bodies to charge recklessly, not even sparing the walls. I don't know when they'll discover this basement. The air in the basement is getting thinner, and I can clearly feel myself struggling more and more to breathe." William's face also looked terrible. He spent most of the time squinting and resting with his eyes closed. A loud bang startled both of us awake. The group of zombies crashed into the corner of the stairwell. The walls were faintly trembling. William struggled to open his mouth, but no words came out. Tears welled up in our eyes as we looked at each other. The phone lying on the ground lit up. It was an urgent message from the top leadership. "Our researchers are working hard to develop a vaccine against this virus. Please hold on a little longer. If there are any survivors left, please do your best to protect yourselves. Hold on a little longer. We will surely persevere until victory." The basement door had already been cracked from the relentless pounding. Both of us closed our eyes. Bang, bang, bang. A violent explosion seemed to come from somewhere farther away from us. The banging on the door grew fainter until it stopped completely. At first, there were still some rustling sounds outside, but eventually, everything fell into silence. I opened my eyes, cough, struggled to crawl to William's side. He was having difficulty breathing. "Bro, wake up, those zombies seem to have left." My voice was also hoarse beyond recognition. "William is already showing obvious signs of oxygen deprivation." I gritted my teeth and decided to take a gamble. At worst, I'd just get bitten by zombies a couple of times, then I'd turn into a zombie too, growling and biting people. I inched my way to the door and mustered all my strength to pull it open. The air, thick with the stench of blood and decay, rushed in eagerly. I breathed in greedily. No matter what, I had survived. William, lying on the ground, gradually regained a healthy complexion. I tentatively crawled out through that entrance. The horde of zombies seemed to have been drawn away by the earlier commotion. I carefully pushed the door they had forced open back into place, then slumped against it, exhausted, holding my legs. I cried my heart out, filled with the relief of having survived a disaster. Not daring to make too much noise, I found some self-heating rice meals, heated them up, and brought them into the basement. William slowly regained consciousness. We exchanged a glance, and he understood. We survived. Relying on the supplies and power sources we had prepared earlier, we managed to scrape by in the club's basement for 3 months. The phone signal gradually returned, bar by bar. Outside, there was even the sound of a broadcast announcing good news. The highest authorities have joined forces with their counterparts in other countries to eradicate the zombies, and post-disaster reconstruction efforts are slowly underway. All of this has given the surviving people great hope for survival. I calculated that it has been exactly 10 months since the apocalypse began. William hasn't had a haircut or shaved in who knows how long. The messy long hair was even worse than a mop. About another month passed, and the phone signal had completely recovered. It might also be related to the club being backed by a fiber optic center. We could clearly see the zombies' encirclement situation through our phones. But this process isn't as simple as we imagined. Over 10 months. Far too many have been infected and turned into zombies. Amidst the constant infections and battles with humans, some zombies have even evolved a certain level of intelligence, facing encirclement and pursuit. Some zombies have even learned counter-surveillance skills. They learn to divide into several mobile units, evading encirclement while occasionally attacking some of our secure bases. Some zombies even pick up clothing from fallen victims to wear, disguising themselves as humans. In many videos, we've also seen them dressed in military uniforms, police attire, and various types of armed forces clothing. The high command and base encirclement operations are advancing with great difficulty. We couldn't help but silently hold on to a faint hope in our hearts. May the goddess of victory tilt the scales in our favor, until one day, a piece of news dominated every webpage. The zombie vaccine has been successfully developed. We've won. Please hold on a little longer. This catastrophe for humanity and the Earth is finally coming to an end. Shortly after the news broke, one plane after another took off continuously from the secure base. The areas they flew over were showered with the vaccine solution. Zombies that were drenched or came into contact with the solution first became sluggish in movement, then collapsed to the ground. Finally, it lay completely still, transforming into a pool of dark, murky water. The vaccination campaign lasted a full month. And by the end, only a handful of zombies remained alive. They didn't move an inch for hours, their final fate being to collapse to the ground and dissolve into stagnant water. The highest authorities arranged another round of extermination. The People's Army searched everywhere, over and over again, meticulously. They killed zombies without hesitation when found, and rescued survivors when encountered. William and I were rescued by the military, the day we stepped out of the club. The weather was fine, we haven't seen the clear blue sky for a whole year. It was a spring when grass grew and orioles flew. Humanity has once again triumphed over destiny. The apocalypse is over. Long live humanity. That's all the story. What do you think of this story? Share with me in the comments section. What would you do if you were in this situation? Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.